Hey everyone, Ian from Eurogamer here, back with another Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree guide for your enjoyment. And this time, I'm going to show you how to reach the DLC's 11 secret optional areas. Visiting these locations isn't necessary in order to complete Shadow of the Erdtree's main storyline, but exploring them all is recommended, as many of the areas featured in this video lead to either precious Shadow Tree fragments, Spirit Ash blessings, rare talismans, optional questlines, or even big bad remembrance bosses. And of course, as long as you don't die and lose them all, making your way through these areas should also award you with plenty of runes to level up with as well, which is always nice. Please be aware though that there will be big spoilers ahead, so look away now if you'd rather discover the secrets of the Land of Shadow for yourself. The thing about Shadow of the Erdtree's secret optional areas is that a lot of them lead onto other secret optional areas. Case in point, this first one, the beautiful blue Cerulean Coast, which you'll need to find if you want to then make your way to the two areas on the list that follow this one. I'm starting with the Cerulean Coast as it's the easiest optional area to find in the game, and you can get there right from the start without fighting any bosses or even finding any of Miquella's crosses and their accompanying Shadow Tree fragments, although why you'd want to do that, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to assume that you've at least done a little bit of exploring so far and have at least found the castle front site of Grace in front of Castle Ensis. Starting from there, head southeast and follow the lowest of the branching paths that leads down and round under this rocky archway. Keep following this path down and around again until you hit the swampy lands where, to the west, you'll spot a small cave mouth guarded by a large flower. Enter that cave and make your way through it, grabbing the revered Spirit Ash blessing and activating the Elak River Cave site of Grace as you do. After you've rested at that site of Grace and, I don't know, had a picnic or something, you'll then be able to emerge onto the Elak River, where you'll want to head south across these stone columns that are very easy to fall. Oh, damn it! Okay, carefully make your way across these stone columns that are very easy to fall off of until you reach the Elak River downstream site of Grace, and then just continue south towards a big open area guarded by a furnace golem. Avoid that big burny boy and hug the right-hand cliff wall until it turns through these trees and you then emerge onto the Cerulean Coast. While this area doesn't have a specific boss battle to it, it does hide a couple of Shadow Tree fragments and Spirit Ash blessings, so please check my other guides in the description below to find those. The most important thing to look for here though is the map piece, which you can find by heading due south, past an angry dragon and up this path. This map piece uncovers a huge portion of the southern part of the map, so make that the first thing that you snatch when you get here, and then continue southwards towards this Miquella's Cross to unlock the Cerulean Coast Cross site of Grace. The next optional area that you'll want to head for from here is Stone Coffin Fissure. The clifftop entrance to that can be seen jutting out if you look west from the Cerulean Coast Cross site of Grace. Reaching this entrance is fairly easy, just hop onto Torrent and follow the curve of the land mass all the way around, avoiding the giants as you go until you reach a huge hole in the ground. This hole leads to Stone Coffin Fissure, which holds not only a Shadow Tree fragment, but also a remembrance boss fight with the Putrescent Knight and the Saint Trina NPC, who is part of Tholia's questline. I won't spoil too much of what you'll find down here, as the route through the dungeon to the boss arena is fairly straightforward, but do be careful of the initial climb down the hole, as it's quite a drop and the thin ledges are covered in annoying slimes. Starting once again from the Cerulean Coast cross Site of Grace, this time you'll want to head due east towards the beach that you can see down below you. The beach itself is fairly easy to reach, but once you're there, beware of all the finger creepers that stalk the sands. Some of these are buried underneath the sand, with the fingertips pointing out like meaty bear traps, so watch your step. Anyway, you're not just down here to make sand castles, you're actually here to find the Finger Ruins of Rhia, which contains not only an altar of remembrance duplication alongside its southeast wall, but also an incredibly useful talisman that will boost the HP restoration from the Flask of Crimson Tears. But before you can get that, I hope you've explored a bit of Scado Altus, because you're going to need to head here first to the Cathedral of Manus Meta, where you'll meet Ymir, who will give you something called the Hole-Laden Necklace. If you don't know how to get to Manus Meta, it's fairly easy. You just make your way to the Morth Ruins in Scado Altus and descend through the hole in its centre until you emerge in Bonny Village. What you're going to want to do once you reach Bonny Village is head all the way up along this route until you come to the Church District High Road Site of Grace, and then just head southwards towards the cathedral where Ymir will be waiting for you. But before you do that, quickly head directly north from the Bonny Village Site of Grace until you find this withered tree with a statue in front of it. This statue holds the "Oh Mother" gesture, which is the key to opening another secret area further down this list. So grab that first and then continue following the route to the cathedral. Okay, you got the necklace? Right, where was I? Oh yeah, the beach. What you need to do now is continue eastwards along the beach until you reach this ruined ship. Then make your way up the deck of that ship and off to the right, and this will lead you directly into the Finger Ruins of Rhia. This place is full of finger creepers and annoying lamprey things, but if you can force your way right to the centre of the ruins, you'll find this hanging bell. Now, if you've already got the Hole-Laden Necklace, once you approach the bell, you'll be given the option to interact with it. So, gently place your lips around the small hole on the tip of the bell and give it a little blow, and you'll then be rewarded with the Crimson Seed Talisman, which gives you that lovely HP restoration boost. Joy! Now, as a side note, it's well worth going back to chat to Ymir after grabbing this talisman, as he will then give you the beloved Stardust Talisman, which shortens casting speed for sorcery and incantations, whilst also increasing damage taken. You know, it's one of those glass half full, glass empty talismans. But I don't even use magic, so it's no use to me.
Well, we don't often receive visitors. I am Ymir. Welcome to Manus Meta.
Right, the next 6 optional locations are all accessible via routes from Shadow Keep, the gigantic structure that can be found to the north of Scado Altus. This huge keep and its adjoining specimen storehouse and church district have many paths leading from them, so if you've already explored this area, it'll make this section a lot easier for you. If you haven't, well, first up, you're going to need to head through the front door and fight the golden hippopotamus within. This will then unlock the main gate plaza Site of Grace and this door to the west of the hall, so head through that and follow the path up a few levels until you reach the area with the burning boats. This big staircase in front of the boats leads into the specimen storehouse first floor, so it's worth popping in there quickly to unlock that Site of Grace if you haven't done already. But once you've done that, come back out, continue past the burning boats, and you will soon see this dead body by a ladder. Climb down that ladder and carefully make your way along this ledge and then pass through this waterfall where you'll spot a hole and another ladder beyond it. Climb down this ladder and you'll eventually reach a room with a painting at the end of it, which looks like a dead end, but if you bonk this wall here with your sword, it will then disappear, and you'll be able to head through and follow the sewer all the way around to an open coffin, which you can then enter and go to sleep in, which will then trigger a cutscene. At the end of that cutscene, you will awaken at the base of Scadu Altus, just next to the Castle Watering Hole Site of Grace, and beyond that you will find the Ruins of Unte, or Unte, or Unt? I don't know how you pronounce most of the things in this game, I'm just guessing. Anyway, this is an optional puzzle area involving furnace golems, which holds a couple of treats if you can work it out. But there's also a fairly easy to grab revered Spirit Ash blessing sitting on a statue on the very far eastern wall. Once you're done exploring the ruins, head south and then unlock the Recluse's River upstream Site of Grace. From here it's a long journey to the next destination, the Abyssal Woods, but it's worth it as these woods hold 3 Scadu tree fragments, 2 revered Spirit Ash blessings and an optional dungeon called Midra's Manse that contains a remembrance boss battle with Midra, the Lord of Frenzied Flame. You can find the locations of the fragments and the blessings in the 2 guide videos that I've linked to in the video description, but for now you just need to follow this river downstream towards the open area where you'll find 2 giant hippos to fight. Defeat these hippos, grab the shadow tree fragments that they were holding, and then clamber down to the level below them using the gravestones by the waterfall, and you'll eventually end up here, where you'll find the entrance to the Dark Light Catacombs. These catacombs are quite large, very deep and absolutely pitch black, so make sure you bring a torch with you before you enter or you will have a lot of trouble making it through. Once you finally reach the bottom, you'll then have to fight Jory, Elder Inquisitor, who's not too tough thankfully, so just smash his stupid face in and you'll unlock the Forsaken Graveyard Site of Grace and the entrance to the Abyssal Woods. I'll leave you to explore the woods and discover its dark surprises for yourself, but do make sure you head due south straight away and grab that all-important map fragment if you want to be able to chart your progress more accurately. The next optional area we're going to check out is the Tree Worship Sanctum, which is a very small area that houses an optional remembrance boss fight with the Shadow Sunflower boss. In order to get there, you're first going to have to drain the water from Shadowkeep's Church District, which you'll be able to reach quite easily from the Church District High Road Site of Grace that we visited earlier in order to reach the Cathedral of Manus Meta. From there, head west through a big tunnel that leads to the Church District entrance Site of Grace, and then parkour across the roofs of the flooded church area until you reach the lever which drains the water from this area. Once you've done that, you can then fast travel back to the Church District entrance Site of Grace and take an immediate left out of the door and then head down the nearby lift to reach the ground floor, where you'll then be able to make your way through the ruins towards the big tree, where you'll have to fight a lesser ulcerated tree spirit. Once you've done that, you'll then be able to enter this chapel behind it. So, go inside there, head towards the back and take a right at the Fire Knight who summons those fiery boys, and eventually you will come to these double doors. Open those doors, ride a lift down and follow the path across a bridge to reach the Tree Worship Sanctum Site of Grace and a nice big boss battle. Good luck! I hope you've had a good explore of the Specimen Storehouse in Shadow Keep by now, because we are heading back there for this next optional area, Shadow Keep's Back Gate, where you'll have to face off against the terrifying legend boss General Gaius and his angry boar. It's a very challenging fight, but if you manage it, you'll unlock the way to the Shadow Tree Chalice, where you'll find 5 Shadow Tree fragments scattered on the floor, so it's well worth the effort. First up, you need to reach the top of the Specimen Storehouse, where you can unlock the Storehouse Loft Site of Grace. There's 2 ways to get here, either by clambering up the statues in the centre of the Specimen Storehouse until you reach the loft, or you can take the easier route by entering the Specimen Storehouse from the Church District and then climbing up the really long ladder to the top. On the floor that the ladder leads to, you will eventually find a crack in the wall that leads to a wooden walkway. Follow this walkway upwards and you will eventually come to the loft Site of Grace. Next up, just ride the nearby lift up onto the rafters of the loft and make your way along these until you can drop down from this area that has a doorway leading outside. Go through that doorway and you will find another wooden walkway, and from here simply follow the route, going down 2 lifts as you do, and soon you will be able to unlock the Shadow Keep Back Gate Site of Grace and then the General Gaius boss battle. The super secret Hinterlands area is next on the list, so starting from Shadow Keep Back Gate Site of Grace, look to your east to see a room with a Shadow Tree fragment at the base of a statue. Now, remember that Oh Mother gesture that we grabbed from Bonnie Village in section 3 of this list? Well, if you didn't do that, go grab that now, because without it you won't be able to open the secret door to the Hinterlands. Once you have the gesture though, stand in front of the statue that you just schnaffled that fragment from and perform the Oh Mother pose, which will then cause the statue to slide to the right and open the entrance to this brand new area. The Hinterlands are incredibly beautiful and just full of flowers, and there's a few things to discover in there, including a couple of familiar faces in the form of some wandering tree sentinels, and also a falling star beast that will reward you with a gravitational missile spell upon defeat. So off you go and have a nice little look around this area, and then come back here once you've unlocked the Fingerstone Hill Site of Grace. Okay, so the Fingerstone Hill Site of Grace leads directly to the Finger Ruins of Dheo, the sister site to the Finger Ruins of Rhia. So if you've already been there, you'll know exactly what to expect here. Just head south from the Fingerstone Site of Grace until you reach the hanging bell in the centre of the ruins. Give that a little toot if you already own the Whole Laden necklace, and you will unlock the Cerulean Seed Talisman +1, which greatly boosts FP restoration from the Flask of Cerulean Tears. Yummy. The final 2 optional areas are only accessible via the Dragon's Pit dungeon, the entrance to which you will find south of the castle front Site of Grace. Just follow the left-hand path from that Site of Grace up the hill until you see the big tower in the distance, and then hang a right past all of these broken dragon statues where you'll eventually be invaded by Ancient Dragon Man. Defeat him and continue following this road until you reach the entrance to the Dragon's Pit, which is a deep dungeon with a hole in the middle that you have to throw yourself down in order to reach the bottom. Once you've done that, you'll need to face off with the real Ancient Dragon Man, but give him a good shoeing and you'll then unlock the Dragon's Pit Terminus Site of Grace. This site leads out onto the foot of the Jagged Peak, which is the route to these final two areas. So, for the first one, Jagged Peak, just follow the northern path up and around towards the base of Jagged Peak Mountain. You'll go up a few spirit springs on your way to the top of this mountain, and you'll be able to grab a shadow tree fragment on your way past some rolling boulders too. Plus, you'll need to fight at least a couple of dragons if you really want to get the most out of the area and follow Igon's questline. But right at the peak of the mountain, you'll also have to face off against the gigantic legend boss, Bale the Dread Dragon. So have fun with that and try not to get squished, I guess. Ow! The final optional area, Charo's Hidden Grave, is fairly empty and there are no bosses there, but it is worth a visit if you want to collect all the Shadow Tree fragments, as there is a hippo in there that drops one upon defeat. Just follow this route southwards from the Dragon's Pit Terminus Site of Grace until you reach the Grand Altar of Dragon Communion. Activate the Site of Grace next to it, have a natter to the nearby NPC if you wish, and then clamber over the body of the nearby dead dragon to reach the red flowers of Charo's Hidden Grave. And those were 11 secret optional areas done and discovered. Thanks to you all for watching. If you found this video useful, you might want to check out my video guides for the locations of all 50 Shadow Tree fragment locations and all 25 revered Spirit Ash blessings, which you can find links to in the video description below or on screen and clickable right now. But before you go check those out, please do give this video a like, subscribe to Eurogamer for almost daily videos about video games, and of course, enjoy exploring the Land of Shadow. Goodbye.